Well, good morning. We are still sailing in to Currimao. Today is our first day in the Philippines. So yesterday we left Taiwan and we are now in the Philippines for the next, I think, 5 days. We have 5 ports in the Philippines. So today I do have a tour booked. This port is a tender port, which means the departure time on a tender is much earlier than you would normally meet for an excursion. So I do have my excursion ticket here. I am doing Vegan City on your own. So it's just a transfer basically to Vegan City. And because it is Christmas Day, I don't really know how much is going to be going on, what's going to be going on, if there's things open. We will find out. So I'm going to do a little bit of research this morning. I'm about to head down and get a coffee and then come back up and sit on my balcony because the scenery as we are sailing in is beautiful. There's a little bit of light coming through the clouds from the sun, but it is overcast, but the seas have calmed down. Yesterday, same as 2 days prior when we were sailing into Kaohsiung. I have never experienced so much rockiness on a ship in my life. It was insane. I don't know if it's just this ship that particularly is susceptible to rocky movement or if the winds and the seas were just really bad. But, you know, we made it. We're here. We're slowly sailing into Currimao, and because it's the tender situation, my meeting time for this tour is 9:15, even though the actual tour itself is like 10:15. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Meredith and I cruise solo, and this is day 4 on this 14-day Southeast Asia cruise that started in Taiwan and ends in Singapore. So if you have not gone back, if you've not watched the first videos yet, go back and watch those because that is all part of a series. So I am off to get a coffee. Let's go.
Morning, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Our meeting time was 9:15 and it is now 10:07 and we just got on the tender boat, so all of that time was spent standing and waiting in line. So lengthy process, but it's a beautiful day. The weather sounds amazing. We have a nice view out the back of the tender boat, so we'll be on our way soon. It's officially 10:45 and we are still on the tender. They can only fit one boat at a time. We've now been on here for 40 minutes. That's how long it took to get from the ship to the tender dock location. I have no idea how much time we're going to actually get to spend in Vegan City because of the drive distance, and then we have to be back on the tender. Last tender I think it's like 3:30, so yeah, I have some concerns about this whole excursion and this whole process. Everyone just clapped because we finally made it. Oh my god, it's so hot. Look at how far the ship is. Yeah, there's like 5 tenders waiting.
People on Group 9 are going to be on there.
I know. All aboard for guests, 3:30. Just got this as I got off the ship. Merry Christmas! Happy holidays! So cool. So we we just talked to the ShoreX manager, and she's going to check and see if how long we're going to be in port for, and if there's going to be extended time, and if it's even going to be worth taking the tour. The problem is, I doubt they will refund us, but I just don't see how this makes sense given the time. It's 10:55, and according to her, she said the tour was supposed to leave at 10, so we're already an hour behind schedule. Honestly, this is not a surprise to me. Like, I have experienced this exact issue in other tender ports, especially when I did my South America cruise in Antarctica and South America. Like, the Falkland Islands situation was so bad, we actually ended up leaving port over an hour and a half later than what we had originally intended, because everybody came back to the port at the same time at the end when the last tender was called. So it took 2.5 hours to get everybody back to the ship. And we have the same situation here where only one tender can dock here at one time. So there are like 5 or 6 or 7 lifeboat tenders waiting in line. And it took us 40 minutes to get from the ship. So I don't know, this just seems like situation's not ideal. All right, I called it going back to the ship, and there's nothing to do in port, and then it's now 11:10 and still only one tender has arrived since we got here, and that means the bus will not fill up for a while, and it just really is not worth going for at most an hour. It's not how I want to spend my day. It's beautiful outside, so I think I'm gonna do the ship. I'm just gonna stay on the ship for Christmas, and it's all right. I'm not upset about it, honestly. Staying on the ship is something I like to do. Yes, this is the first time I've ever been to this port. I may never come here again, but the logistics and just how this played out is just not. It's not efficient. It's not working. It's not how I want to spend my Christmas day. So back to the ship. I think I'm going to go to Spice H2O, spend a little bit of time out by the pool area. I didn't bring sunscreen with me either, so I really don't want to get sunburned. It's very hot, upper 80s. It's like 87 out right now, which is really hot and humid. So yeah, back to the ship I go, and I'll spend my day there.
Hold me. Hold. All right. How many of you want to come back? Everybody. Okay, good. Yes. We'll try to approach 29. Jump on over 23. All right. Tell me. All right, so go to 23. Okay.
This is the craziest tender experience I have ever had. I can't wait to tell you all about it.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Whew. Okay, you guys. I'm back on the ship. It's 11:48. So let me recap everything that just happened, because that was the wildest tender experience I've ever had in my life. What a wild ride. Quick reminder, it's Christmas Day. This is the first time that the Norwegian Spirit has ever visited the port of Currimao. So first things first, it took about almost an hour to get to the docking area. Because there are so many tours running of the same one that I booked, which is Vegan City on Your Own, we each had a sticker, right? They give you a sticker. It's based on the bus you're going to be on. But there were like 6 or 7 different buses that all did the same tour. And so they sent all of us in the tender line to go to shore at the same time, but only one tender can dock at the shore at one time. And part of that was due to low tide, rocky area in the water. One tender could go at a time. That's why it took so long to get over there. By the time we get to shore, it's 11 o'clock, and the shore excursion manager could not tell us what time we would be able to leave. So again, it's an hour and a half ride to Vegan City and an hour and a half back. And the all aboard time, the last tender leaves at 3:30. So if you do the math, which I'm not going to go into all the math, you can do the math, there's no way it would be worth it, because you would end up getting maybe 1 hour to spend in Vegan City. For me, I felt like that's just 100% not worth the hassle, not worth the stress. This is Christmas Day. I don't want to spend it sitting on a bus in the 90-degree heat and humidity. So I made this decision to just come back to the ship. And I'm perfectly fine with that. So we get back on a tender and happen to sit across from a great guy, Security Officer Damien. So thanks, Damien, for all the chatting, the conversation. enjoyed that. But apparently, because this is the first time Norwegian is visiting Currimao, there's a whole lot of logistics and operational things that I think growing pains that just all have not worked out in their favor. So it was a disaster. And I want to be very clear that I'm not complaining here. I understand that things happen like this. It's not entirely in the cruise line's control. It's not in the port control. It's certainly not in the ShoreX manager's control. So I can only imagine the stress that she is feeling right now. But I am perfectly happy coming back to the ship, spending the day on board. I'm gonna go get my bathing suit on and sit out at Spice H2O after grabbing some lunch. But I just wanted to explain the situation. It was kind of a nightmare, and I know that there are going to be so many angry people on this ship complaining about the port. I'm not gonna be one of them. I'm not gonna go complain to ShoreX. I did ask when I gave her back my excursion ticket if I would be refunded. She said she didn't know. I totally understand. And honestly, I don't want to spend any more energy on it. I want this to be an informative video so that you are aware of how things can go wrong at tender ports and with tender operations. It is a very complicated process. There are so many things that have to go right in order for it to work. The weather last night was terrible. They were concerned. The security officer said they were concerned about the weather today, whether we would even be able to dock here. The other cool thing, though, that I will say is that we were on the tender back with a whole group of Filipino locals to do the ceremony. So every time a ship visits a new port, and this is the very first time the Norwegian Spirit is visiting Currimao, they do a ceremony where a plaque is presented, and I'm sure that if you've cruised before, you've seen the plaque wall in the ship where they mount a plaque for every port that the ship has ever visited. So they are holding that ceremony on the ship today, and I got to be on the tender with some of those folks coming back over. One last thing about the experience. When we got back to the ship on our tender boat, one of the tender boats was broken. And so there for a minute there, we thought that we had to actually get onto a different tender, cross over, and then get on the platform to get on the ship. Luckily that didn't happen. They were able to open up a free spot for us. And then about halfway through our trip back, another tender made a distress call, I suppose. So we actually, and I have footage of this, I will put it in, but we actually docked alongside another tender boat where all the passengers were in an uproar about getting to their excursions on time, getting over to the port. So they had a little conversation with the folks on that tender. I think the decision was up to the passengers as to whether all of them wanted to return back to the ship, or if any of them wanted to go to shore, then the tender had to go to shore, let those people off, and then the rest could come back. So, what a day, what an experience. So I'll wrap up that description now. My plan for today, again, is just to go hang out and chill. I'm gonna go check out Spice H2O. It's finally warm enough now on day 4 of this trip to be able to experience it. It's an adults only area. There's a beautiful pool there with lots of comfy padded lounge chairs. So that is where I'm off to. Gonna grab a bite to eat. And yeah, what a day. The landscape here is beautiful though. Look at all those mountain ridges. Very, very beautiful. Yeah, so let me see if I can show you exactly where the tendering, so right over here is where the tenders docked. So we kind of took the long way around. We had to go like all the way over there and back around, and apparently that was just because of the rocky outcropping under the water. So there was a very shallow and narrow space for the tenders to actually fit into alongside the dock. So really just all those things, combined kind of just went wrong. But it is what it is. It is what it is. And I just want to reiterate that I am not complaining. I am perfectly happy with the decision to stay on the ship today. I love staying on the ship when we're in port. This really is just information so that if you ever do visit this port in the future, you're aware of the logistics and the things that can go wrong and the experience and the delays. So I would maybe caution not booking a tour to Vegan City because of the distance required. There are local beaches around here that you can go to, but you cannot walk there from the port. So unfortunately, while I did consider staying at port and walking around, it's not really a port that you can explore. It's really just a basic port area, and then you do need to take transportation out elsewhere. I didn't wear my bathing suit there, so I couldn't, I couldn't go to the beach or anything. I also forgot sunscreen, so it just made more sense to come back to the ship, and I'm pleased with that decision, and so I'm gonna go enjoy my day.
Tender as well, that at the pier we can only dock one tender at a time. We're allowed to only one boat at a time, and therefore 2 disembark each time. We are doing all we can to go as fast as possible, and we truly apologize for these challenges and the delay that we're facing. Thank you for your attention.
I can think of a lot worse places to be than on pool deck chair on Christmas Day, with the pool right behind me in an adults only area, and this view right off the back of the ship. Honestly, I have 0 complaints, and so chill. I'm gonna get my book out, do a little bit of reading, enjoy this warm weather, a little bit of clouds, so it's not overly hot. Yeah, this is perfect. Just got back to the cabin. It's a little after 5 p.m. I had a lovely afternoon at Spice H2O until the last hour or so when a whole bunch of kids started showing up. It is an adults only area, but the parents apparently didn't want to listen to the crew who asked them to take their kids to the other pool. There's no lifeguard at the Spice H2O aft pool because it is adults only, and there is a sign posted underneath on both sides of the ship under the Spice H2O sign it's adults only until 7 p.m. However, the parents were arguing with the crew, decided they didn't want to listen. So they were continuing to have their kids swim and be very loud and disruptive. So, not my favorite thing, but it is what it is. So I just came back to the cabin. I'm gonna get ready. I don't know if I'm gonna be ready in time to go to the solo meetup. It's a little after 5, so 5:30 is the solo meetup time. It's a little early, which is why I almost never go to the solo meetup. Looks like we are still tendering because I just went out on the balcony and looked at the lifeboat situation. None of the lifeboats on my side of the ship have been pulled back up, so they must still be running. I'm not surprised. I expect that they probably delayed our port departure so that they would have enough time to run the tours, of course, earlier. So I'll be curious to see from any of the other passengers whether or not they were able to go to Vegan City and just, either on their own or as part of a tour. I'm sure I'll hear about it either in the Facebook group, which is always very active, or as I, wander around the ship. But I'm certain that Ben and I are not the only ones who did not go to our excursion. We met and spoke with several people all over the ship this afternoon who chose to do the same thing we did, which is just come right back to the ship and not deal with the tender situation, the delay, the wait on the buses. Just not ideal, but that's okay. So I had a great afternoon. The weather was really nice. There was a few clouds. I hope that I got enough sunscreen on that I'm not too red. Not quite dinner time. So we actually have dinner reservations at Onda by Scarpetta tonight, which is one of the Italian restaurants on board. So with Norwegian, there are 2 versions of the Italian restaurant. On most of their ships, it's La Cucina. But on a couple of their newer ships and some of the refurbished ships, it is Onda, and I love Onda, so I'm really excited for dinner tonight. I already know what I want to order. I pretty much get the same thing every time I go. But I'm going to go ahead and jump in the shower now and get ready to head out for the evening. Well, good evening. I have just returned back to my stateroom. It's about 9:30. Yes, it's early, but I am exhausted. I have a long day planned tomorrow, a full day excursion in Manila, Philippines, which is our next port of call. So I'm gonna actually go to bed early tonight, maybe get a little reading in bed before I go to sleep so that I'm fully rested for a very long day tonight. To wrap up the evening, so Ben and I went to Onda by Scarpetta, which is the Italian restaurant on board, and I used one of my Latitudes vouchers, and that voucher actually included a bottle of wine. So you get 2 vouchers if you're platinum or above, and I used the second one tonight that actually included the bottle of wine. Didn't open it because don't think I can drink the whole thing in a night, so I just brought it back to the cabin. I can keep it in the fridge, I can do what I want with it. Could probably even take it home with me if I want to, but the one I chose was it's the Norwegian brand East and West Sauvignon Blanc, and I've heard really good things about the East and West brand. I've actually tried their red wine, but not the Sauvignon Blanc, so I'm excited to try that. Yeah, that was today, so you already heard about all the craziness that happened with the port earlier, the tender operations and the excursion issues and everything that happened. But I did find out earlier this evening, Ben actually found out from some other passengers that they did end up canceling the excursion that we had booked, Vegan City on Your Own. I think they may have canceled all of the Vegan City tours just given the driving distance involved. I don't know what people did instead. A lot of people I think came back to the ship. Some found a way to get to a local beach, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay, you know, with how my day turned out on Christmas, and I'm happy that they're going to give, you know, a refund. I'm glad that I came back to the ship when I did, and I didn't end up staying and just sitting on the bus only to find out that the tour was canceled. So did things go as planned today? No, they didn't, but that's okay. That happens on cruises. You kind of just have to go with the flow sometimes. Not everything goes as planned. If you've seen any of my videos from past trips, you'll know that this is not the first time I've had issues with a port. It's not the first time a port has been missed. Things happen. Things just happen. I mean, when weather is unpredictable and the seas are unpredictable and the wind and the water and the waves, and you just can't control those things. The cruise line cannot control those things. So you just have to kind of go with the flow. And that's what I did. And so I cannot believe that it's already the end of Christmas here for me. And on the East Coast, in the US, they are just now waking up on Christmas morning. So that is where I'm going to wrap this video up. So thank you so much for watching. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. And if you're not already, hit subscribe to get notified for new videos, because I have so many more yet to come and lots more trips planned. Thank you so much for watching, and happy cruising.